It's me again, Gene. Still 79, still here. My father died thinking I was ashamed of him. I wasn't. But I never once told him otherwise, and he never gave me the words either. And the two of us carried that silence right down into the ground with him. I want to talk about that today. Because it's the thing I'd undo first, if a man ever got the chance to undo one thing. There's a person in your life you have never said it to. A father, maybe, if you're lucky enough to still have one. A son. A brother you've gone quiet with. You're both waiting on the other one to say it first, and you've each decided the silence means something it doesn't. I'm telling you a stranger because you are running out of time with him. You just can't feel the clock yet. I couldn't either, until it stopped. Let me put you at the grave. October of 1990, a cold cemetery on the east side of Dayton. I was 43 years old, standing over a hole in the ground in a suit that didn't fit, watching them lower my father. And here is what came up in me, standing there. Not grief, not at first. It was a kind of cold arithmetic. I realized the last real conversation Russ Markham and I ever had was an argument. Months before, over nothing. And under that, a worse number. In 43 years, 43. I had never once told that man I loved him. Not as a boy, not as a grown man. Never. And he had never said it to me either. Two grown men, father and son. A whole lifetime side by side. And neither one of us ever managed to say the one thing that needed saying. I stood there in that cold, and I understood that it was finished now. Permanently. There was no version of the rest of my life where I got to fix it. That is the day this started. The day it was already too late. So let me tell you about my father, and how a son gets a man that wrong for 40 years. Russ Markham worked the line at the plant. 40 years. Up at 4 in the morning, lunch pail packed the night before, doubles whenever they'd give them to him. He had hands like cracked leather, and a smell of the plant on him that never fully washed out. And he did not talk. Not the way I wanted a father to talk. He never praised me. I don't recall the man ever telling me I'd done a good job at anything. He never said a soft word that I can dig up. He came to the things. He was there, in the back, in his good shirt. But he stood at the edge, and he didn't say much. And then we drove home in a quiet I read as disappointment. Because that's the thing. I read it. I took all that silence, and I decided what it meant. I decided it meant I wasn't quite enough for him, that he didn't much care for who I was turning into. And somewhere in my teens, God forgive me, I started being ashamed of him. The rough hands at the school open house, the lunch pail, the way the other dads talked easy and mine just stood there. I wanted a father who said things, and I had one who grunted and went to work. So I built my whole picture of that man out of the things he never said. 40 years of a case I made against him, entirely out of silence. It never once occurred to me, not for decades, that a man can be roaring with love and not have a single word in him to spend on it. That the silence wasn't a verdict. It was just the only language he was ever handed. Two things tried to tell me, and I ignored them both. The first came from my mother, Doris. I was about 20, sitting in her kitchen, running my father down, too quiet, too cold, never says a thing. And she put down what she was holding, and she looked at me, and she said something I have only understood in the last few years. She said, "Gene, your father says it with his hands, working, fixing, showing up at 4 in the morning for 30 years so you could eat, That is the only language the world ever gave that man. You keep standing there, waiting on words he was never taught. I rolled my eyes at her. I was 20. I knew everything. And the second thing, the proof, was already sitting right there in my own life, if I'd had the eyes for it. When I was 19, my car died on a county road at 1 a.m, dead. And I called home, and I was angry about it, like it was somebody's fault. And my father, who had to be on the line at 6, got up, drove out into the rain, and fixed that car in the dark in about 20 minutes. Wiped his hands on a rag, said, "Follow me home." And he never mentioned it again. Not the next morning, not ever. I was too proud to even thank him. I took it as just what fathers do. It took me about 50 years to see that night for what it actually was. That was my father saying, "I love you, son," the only way he had, out on a dark road, in the rain, on no sleep, with the line waiting for him at 6. I heard nothing, because I was listening for words. So here's the whole thing, the sentence I'd give you if I could only give you one. My father said, "I love you," with his hands for 40 years. I kept waiting for the words. So did he. There are men, a lot of them, good ones, who love you by doing. They provide, they fix the car, they show up, and they fix the gutter, and they pay the thing off, and they never, ever say it. That is real love. Do not let anybody tell you it isn't. But here is the other half, and it took me a graveside to learn it. The child standing in front of that man is waiting to hear it. And those two things, the love that's done and the love that's said, are not the same currency. You can be handed one your whole life and starve for the other at the very same table. My father fed me a love I never learned to read, and I needed it said. And the worst of it, he needed it said too. From me. And I never said it either. Now, I can hear some of you, because I said it to myself for 30 years. That's just how men were back then, Gene. That generation didn't talk like that. The actions were enough. Everybody understood. And that is half true. It is also the exact lie that let me off the hook. The lie is that the words are optional, that they're soft or sentimental or unnecessary as long as a man's doing the deeds, that a real man shows it and doesn't have to say it. Here is what a graveside taught me about that. A son can be provided for and fixed up and shown up for every single day of his life, and still stand over his father's coffin, genuinely unsure whether the man loved him. The hands say a great deal. I'll grant them everything. But there is one sentence the hands cannot say, no matter how hard they work. Only the mouth can say it. And everybody understood is just what we tell ourselves, so we never have to open it. Here's the part that took the legs out from under me. Our last real conversation, the last one that wasn't just weather and the score, was a fight. A few months before he died. By then I had my own shop work. I was doing all right, and I'd stopped coming around the old neighborhood much. And he said something low about how I must think I'd gotten too good for the place I came from. And I gave it right back to him, and we let it sit there, hard, and I drove off. Then on a Tuesday, his heart quit, on the floor at the plant, and that fight was the last of us. And at the funeral, an old line mate of his, Sal, a man I barely knew, took my hand in both of his and said, "Your dad kept your business card taped inside his locker, you know. Showed it to every new kid that came through. My boy runs his own crew," he'd say. "Proudest man on that floor." I had to go sit down. Because here's the thing that leveled me, and still does. My father was proud of me. Proud enough to tape my card up where he'd see it every shift. Proud enough to brag to strangers. And he still went into the ground believing his own son was ashamed of him. Both of those, at the very same time. That was what the last fight was, him feeling me drift, deciding I thought I was too good for him now. So he had the words, the whole time. He'd told that entire line he loved me, in his way. He just never once aimed them at me. And I had them too. And I aimed them nowhere. Now, I can't fix it with him. He's been in the ground 36 years, and I helped put the silence there myself. But it changed me. Slowly, and far too late. But it did. I made myself learn the words. I started saying it plain to Marie, out loud, at the kitchen table. For no reason at all. And I got to say it for years before she passed. I would not trade those years back for anything I own. And with my own son, Greg. 3 states off, the two of us gone a little quiet over the years. I am trying, late in the day, not to hand him what my father handed me. Last time we talked, I made myself say it before I hung up. I'll be honest with you. It felt like lifting the back end of a truck. He went quiet a second. Then he said it back. Careful. Like a man trying out a word he was never raised hearing. And a couple times a year, I drive out to that cemetery and I stand at the stone and I say it out loud to a piece of granite. I loved you, Dad, and I knew you loved me. I just never learned to read your hands. Too late for him to hear it. Not too late for me to finally mean it. So here is what I want from you, not for my sake. I'm just an old man hollering at a camera, for you and for him. There is a man you love that you have never said the words to. Your father, if you're still lucky enough to have him. Your son. A brother you went cold with somewhere along the line. And you're waiting for him to say it first, for the right moment, for it to feel less awkward. I'll save you the suspense. It never stops being awkward. Say it anyway. Call him this week and say, I love you, out loud, in your own clumsy voice. Even if he grunts, even if he's all hands and no words like my old man was. You are not saying it to get it back. You're saying it so that whoever ends up standing at whose ever grave first does not stand there like I did, knowing it the whole time, and never once having said it. Don't wait for the granite. I'm 79 years old. My father said I love you with his hands for 40 years, out on a dark road, in the rain, at 2 in the morning, on no sleep. And I heard none of it, because I was holding out for a sentence. I'd give a great deal to have answered him just once, while he could still hear me. That chance is gone. I shut it. But yours isn't. If the man's still breathing, you have got something I would trade almost anything for. You have got time and a phone and a voice. Use them before they're a headstone and a regret. Down in the comments, tell me about a time somebody showed you love without ever once saying the words. A parent, usually. I read every single one. And I think we could all stand to learn to read those hands a little sooner. I'm Gene. Thanks for sitting with me.